What's up, guys? I'm going to fill these other channels I have with other content, ranging from, the relationship between men and women, marriage, obviously politics, essentially just dealing with the madness that blankets us on a daily basis. And largely the reason is because I've just been overwhelmed by the emails, the PMs, and the encouragement that people give me when I deal with some of this stuff. It's just become unbelievably obvious to me how much of a starvation for this point of view there is when we're all saturated with essential nonsense. That being said, with this particular video, I'm going to deal with something that has been on my mind for a little while, and that's art. I make my living as a songwriter. I'm rubbing shoulders and I'm, talking and dealing with artists on a regular basis, be it filmmakers, video makers, obviously musicians themselves, producers, so on and so forth. And something that I think is really, really interesting is in modern day art, you've seen a shift from the classic Renaissance period, which in that classic period, the artists concerned themselves with grafting into our lives beauty and greatness and goodness, pointing to something greater, always the elevating. Today, the artist is just overwhelmed with this notion of expressing himself. It's very narcissistic. It's just sort of your own feelings are the focal point of everything. And as a result, you see this ridiculous art all around you that everybody's always afraid to call ridiculous art because you don't want to be seen as outside of what is chic. But let me assure you, this stuff is just mostly nonsense. 90% of it is just complete and total garbage that a fifth grader could do more proficiently. And I think there's a couple explanations for this. What modern art elevates now is sort of scandal and who you can offend. Modern art's sort of at war with the everyday man's values and ideas. In the case of America, especially middle American Christian values, if you can in some way crap on those or offend those, you are the creme de la creme. You are the toast of the town. And I mean, all the classic examples that you guys have already heard of, the urine Jesus and all these kind of things. Seriously, I don't even need to tell you, this is ridiculous. But the reason this stuff gets the attention and the reason it's the focal point is because most artists are like children. They're like little children that want to offend their parents. Rather than elevating one's view of life and surroundings and humanity, rather than pointing to beauty and greatness, it's just easier to, get some rise out of someone and call that art, call that some sort of expressionary art. Okay, the other mystery to me is obviously being a very conservative and religious man in the arts. I'm a bit of a unicorn. That should go without saying if you live on the same planet as me. And I thought a lot about that, what lends itself to left-wing thinking in the arts. And I think one of the explanations is this notion of, really existing in the make-believe, the less than real. Spending so much time in a very emotion-laden world where you're just constantly coddling your emotions and you're not necessarily living in the world as it is, but as you sort of fictionalize it into being. And I'm not saying that there's no place for that, certainly there is, theatrical arts, etc. But I think this lends itself to left-wing thinking. Piggybacking on what I've said earlier, this unbelievable feeling uber alles, this feeling-based world that is left-wing values, is in contrast with bringing attention to greatness and goodness, despite what you think greatness and goodness is based on your feelings. Actual greatness and goodness, these are conservative ideals, these are conservative values, and it's very obvious to me why an artist, a modern day artist, when he's just so invested in his own painful narcissism, that the left-wing feeling-based ideology would make a much more comfortable bed for him. Yeah, so in conclusion, if you've ever found yourself wondering why you see so much nonsense from some arguably talented people, it's because, once again, left-wing, wisdomless ideas and values have permeated the arts, and the result is basically a landfill where once beauty rested. Romantic era, Bach, Rembrandt, so on and so forth, these men concentrated on the elevation of humanity. And today, they concentrate on self-reflection, and we find ourselves with bottles of urine in our art museums. Take it to the bank.